the edge of the universe, 400 men and women are probing the immeasurable blackness of space. The leaders are an Earthman with no fear and a stranger with no heart. Travel beyond our time and solar system, into new galaxies, into worlds beyond your dreams. Star Trek, every week, in color.
Oh, hey, it's serious Star Trek. It's Friday, it's noon, so it's time to talk about Star Trek. And who better to talk about it with than your captain and mine? He's Captain Fun. He's Larry Young. Hey, Larry.
Welcome. Hey, Dan, what's happening? Dan Tron. Since we did the comic one yesterday, I got myself confused. Like, I thought I was talking to Human Dan, and now we're on Star Trek. I should have known from my clothes.
We've shifted modes. We're somewhere else. Human Dan is off doing human things. I'm here to talk about alien things and all things Star Trek and sci-fi. But we don't have the Doctor this week.
Yeah, Price is on assignment somewhere, right? Has he been lost in the icy cold of space, perhaps? I don't know.
Or he's chilling like Bones on, what was that, Pleasure Planet or whatever that Bones used to hang out on.
Risa? Well, Bones had Bones was Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, right? I guess that was harder to say, and apparently the chewing gum people had something to say, so they changed it to Risa. But yeah, so we have a special guest star, right? I'm super excited about this because one of my oldest friends, probably my oldest friend now, Rick Austin. He's a big shot Hollywood producer. There he is.
What's up, boys? Hey, thanks for having me on your serious Star Trek show. How you doing?
Pretty good. I should explain that serious Star Trek is. Do you remember we were just before the show? We were just talking about Moon Knight. Remember when we were kids and we'd be listening to the radio and that David Bowie song came up, "Serious Moonlight."
Yeah,
and we would always like sing crazy lyrics. And one time we went, "It's that great guy Moon Knight. That's serious Moon Knight." So that's been in my head for like 50 years. Yeah. And so when we had an opportunity to do a Star Trek show with Dan, we were like, we got to call it Serious Star Trek because that's, we will take it seriously for like 10 seconds and then start making each other laugh. So.
Yeah, and I was a huge Moon Knight fan back in 1980 when we were driving around listening to that. I think, or even what was that, 82 or something when that came out, and it's just weird that there's a Moon Knight show, and we're still here at in our 50s talking about the same crap that we were talking about in Larry's beat up pickup truck in 1980.
Well, the fact that you were talking about that we're still talking about Star Trek and Star Wars, maybe somebody would have predicted. Nobody was predicting Moon Knight.
No,
right.
40 years later, right? So
no, that came out of left field even for me. It's like they're really doing. They're going to do. There's like 3 Moon Knight fans on planet Earth. How are they doing the show?
Right, and one of them's Bill Sienkiewicz, right?
Yeah.
I was flabbergasted how good that show ended up being. Like, they really made it make sense.
Yeah, it was weird because it wasn't my era of Moon Knight because I was that first run of comics with Bill Sienkiewicz in 1980, where I think it was much more about Mark Spector, and he was much more of a sort of a Batman clone with some mystical Egyptian powers, but it wasn't nearly as much about the multiple personalities and Stephen Grant and I don't even know if they really had Khonshu as a character in it. So this was much more based on kind of the later runs of comics that I was sort of checked out on, but I still enjoyed it. I just wanted much more Moon Knight kicking ass than there ended up being in the show,
that's how we ended up feeling about it because my kid's 15. It's his birthday today. And so happy birthday, Rocky.
Happy birthday.
But we both looked at each other at the end and we were like, that was good. Like, Mimi loved it because she'll watch anything Oscar Isaacs is in.
Yeah.
That guy's a talented actor. But we were like, yeah, that's great. But this is all the stuff you have to get out of the way before what we really want to see happen. Moon Knight punching people and trading quips with Spider-Man and telling people to fuck off and stuff. You know, I just kind of wish that was like the first 3 was what ended up being the 6, and having another 3 where there's an adventure where we're like, okay, we get he's part of the MCU.
Right.
But
yeah, the moments where it got very Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the moments when Moon Knight actually showed up, I was all in on, and I enjoyed the other stuff, but it just left me wanting more, which I guess is a good thing, but I wanted way more Moon Knight just kicking people's asses.
I do think it's amazing though, like to your point that like we're still old and just doing it. So
yeah.
The cool bit is that, like, because you're a big shot producer. I keep saying this. It sounds like I'm being sarcastic, Dick, but you are. I mean, you're like you're a legit entertainment producer.
Yeah, in this like very specific little wavelength.
Emmy nominated. You're our first Emmy nominated guest.
Ooh, I think you're actually an Emmy winner, right?
I have not won. I was nominated a few times, but it's just it's just good to be nominated. Who wants to actually win something?
Right. I love that our pal Hector Gonzalez says, "Holy shit, Rick looks like NoHo Hank." Are you following Barry at all to get that joke?
Oh, no. I have people. I watched the first season of Barry.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot, but I sort of drifted away from it. People who I know who watch Barry are like completely obsessed with Barry. But
yeah, I mean, I don't need any Barry trading cards, but that is a friggin' high quality show. I kind of can't get over like Bill Hader of all people is like, you expect him to do something wacky, and it's like it's a pretty dense like Vertigo-esque graphic novel that's going on.
Right, and apparently it's getting darker and more serious as the season.
Dark as hell.
Season 3 is like nuts, right?
Yeah, that's one of the ones we followed. But isn't that cool that we're on a thing called Serious Star Trek, and just there's so much high quality pop culture to talk about?
There's too much. There's too much. And Oscar Isaacs is like the linchpin of the multiverse in science fiction, right? Because he's in everything right now.
That's really funny. He's not just in everything, but he's in solid blockbusters. He's in Star Wars. He's in, the MCU.
He's in the MCU. He's in Dune.
Right, Dune. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was almost a coincidence that so much Oscar Isaac material came out at once, because Dune was delayed.
Right.
And I think it was paced to be a little more evenly distributed Oscar Isaacness. We just happened to get punched in the face like 3 times in a row with amazing Oscar Isaac performances. So yeah, I agree. Like I could do without Oscar for a couple of months. But
I mean, do you see the behind the scenes stuff that Disney Plus did on Moon Knight?
Like I saw that there was one, and I haven't watched it yet.
Just it's regular behind the scenes stuff, but there was a neat thing that his brother, who's I don't think is an actor, was his body double for the scenes in the hospital.
Stephen and Mark. Whenever it was Stephen and
Mark. They did the 2 shots, right?
Yeah.
And
so well done.
He doesn't look very much like him. You get that the correct brother became the Hollywood actor, but he sounds exactly like him.
Oh wow.
It actually took me out of it for a second, because I was like, did they just do something? Are they showing, a filmed thing that they've tweaked a little? And no, it's just the guy's voice. And it's like, wow, that's crazy. They sound exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, I know you don't sound like Kixie.
No, I don't. I can do a good Kixie. That's my brother. For viewers at home who aren't up on Kixie.
Going deep, guys.
I can't. See, that's what happens.
I love Kixie, but he sounds mad all the time. He's not watching, so I can. This is literally the last thing that my brother Kixie will watch.
That's what I was laughing at. I was like, I can't imagine.
Isn't it funny? Isn't that funny how like you grow up and people in your family, like my brothers, not a one of them reads comics. Not a one of them really is into this stuff at all. And it's like you had to reach out to find your brother from another mother somehow, right? And bring it together.
Exactly.
A lot harder back then, too. Before now, it's like you go to Walmart and they've got obscure Marvel T-shirts for sale. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's become something where back then, when you guys were young, not, and especially in a small rural town where you grew up,
man, yeah.
like you guys were talking about, must have been really hard to find other people that were into this stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, it was basically me and Larry. I mean,
Yeah.
we grew, I grew up, a couple of our friends were into Star Wars when it came out in 77. Like, you remember Perry Lasky.
Yeah, of course.
We had a competition in 77 who could see Star Wars the most times. And Perry won. So he was like, I thought he was going to be my Star Wars buddy. And then he sort of drifted away from it all. And then I think Perry, this is how I met Larry. Perry Lasky and John Russell, who lived next door to Larry, and me somehow ended up in Larry's room in late 78 or early 79 or something, because Larry's sister was in our class. And I always thought Larry was cool and I knew him and stuff. But when I saw Larry's room for the first time and saw all of the sci-fi shit, like literally his room was a shrine to coolness. And not only just like coolness you could buy, but Larry made his own. Like, I remember I was into Battlestar Galactica at the time, 78, and Larry had taken the Colonial Viper and made this whole diorama of it crash landing on a snow planet, and like literally like burned parts of it and put like this infrastructure of exposed infrastructure of part of it, like that had burned away. And I was like, Jesus, this guy puts a lot of work into this. So we started to bond.
Yeah, right on. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was just a function of the world was different. Like I'll tell Walker stuff about that all the time. Like, Rick and I spent like 3 days doing this 10-second clip of stop motion of, a tape dispenser just cooking by, Yeah. And he's like, oh, what? Why? It's because because we had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And it was state of the art. That's what you had to do. Yeah.
But that's kind of why I talk exclusively in movie and TV quotes, because there were 79 episodes of Star Trek. And if you're watching on Channel 11, PIX in New York City, like you go through the whole thing in 3 months. Mm-hmm. So if you watch Star Trek for a year at 6 o'clock, because there's nothing else on except for news and Zoom, if you're in front of the TV waiting for your mom to make dinner, that's what you're going to watch. And so in a year, you can see every episode 3 times. Like, what?
Which we did. Yeah. Channel 11 I think Channel 11 made me the person I am. If anybody's watching from the New York area, you know what I'm talking about. Like WPIX had Star Trek, even though they randomly just chopped half of scenes out.
I hate that.
Because they needed more commercials. It was before they could like time compress them or anything. So like literally when we started watching the full episodes, when they started coming out on VHS and stuff, I was like, I have never seen this scene before in my life because I've only watched it on WPIX. But
did they do marathons?
Yeah, I think once in a while they would do a marathon, but they literally had Star Trek on every day at like 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. or something, so you could make it through, like you said, in 3 months, you could get through 79 episodes and then start over,
Well, so Rick, I know you're watching Brave New World, Strange New Worlds. I always call Brave New Worlds.
I know.
But were you in on Discovery and Picard and all that stuff too?
Yeah, here's as far as the streaming stuff, I gave Discovery like 3 episodes and I bailed. I so wanted to love it. And
it's just
I couldn't do it. There was just like I couldn't get past how and I'm okay with Star Trek doing different things and going over here or going over here, but kind of stay in your lane a little bit, like I just felt like this feels so unlike any Star Trek that I'd ever want to ever exist. People communicating with holograms when it's supposed to be the, before Kirk and Spock even meet, and the Klingons becoming this impenetrable, like kind of tribe of whatever, speaking in such halted Klingon language that just became hard to even get through a scene with the Klingons in them, And having it be such an having to do the whole Game of Thrones, like if you miss one episode, you have no friggin' idea what's going on in the entire season. I couldn't get with it at all. And then hearing you guys rank on it mercilessly, like there was no way I was ever going to go back there and go, I'll check out and see if now that they're 1,000 years in the future, maybe it's better or whatever. I just gave up.
No.
We did watch the first season of Picard. And I think we enjoyed about a third of it. Because it's hard not to enjoy John, Patrick Stewart being Picard, even though he seemed like he was sort of like a side character in his own show almost sometimes. But, I was into it because I loved the data stuff that they did. And I was sort of down with the characters. I loved, what's his name? The cigar chomping Han Solo.
Yeah, Rios.
Okay, yeah, he was cool. Whenever he was on screen, I was like, okay, I like this guy. I hated Sexy Romulan, whatever that guy was.
No.
Sexy British Romulan guy. And then by the time we got to the end, and it's like, okay, Picard is a freaking robot now.
Yeah, none of that was very good. But that kind of brings us now to the new stuff. Like,
yeah,
I agree 100%. Like, Discovery's just, there's a big thing. All the kids get mad when the old guys like us say, well, there's just nothing Star Trek about it.
Yeah.
And then the new kids are like, no, but it says Star Trek on the lunchbox, so that's Star Trek by definition. And all of us are like, oh, child, no, and so now it took them 4 years to figure it out. But then we get an episode like this latest one that stands right next to like a piece of the action.
Yeah.
And bread and circuses or
a Spectre of the Gun.
Spectre of the Gun. That's
Mirror.
Where there's something super serious going on.
Yeah.
It's an unknowable force, and we got to play dress up to solve the problem. It's not even defeat the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't get much more Star Trek than that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why did it take so long for them to do that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I love this latest one.
You really? I like, it took me a while to like, I kind of had to go about 10 or 15 minutes into it going like, just go with it. Just go with it. Cause this is feeling cheesy, but this is what they do on Star Trek. So,
that's the thing,
this
man.
is old school Star Trek. So just go with it.
I love the cheese. All the cheese.
Yeah, did it pull through in the end for you?
Not for me.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I think it did for me because we don't never have to listen to Dr. Mbenga's tragic backstory again. It's like that. My kids in the pattern buffer, like the, okay.
Yeah.
But like, I don't have to like, oh my God, just do the next episode of Pike going. I'm not going to be catching the Delta rays either because I've had enough time to think about this. I can save everybody now and then just give us a Star Trek show. Just get rid of the tragic backstory stuff. Kill Lon Noonion Sing, who that doesn't make any sense. What is she doing there? I don't know. And she's British too, which right on because then the real Khan is Benedict Cumberbatch, I guess, in this world.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You know what's funny? I like the Lon Noonion Sing character as a character. I like her as like the ballsy, like
absolutely.
We have to be aggressive. I love her as a character. The fact that she's a descendant of Khan doesn't even make sense or mean anything at the moment. I'm sure they've got some story that happens in the future where it becomes a huge problem for her in one way or another. But I just like that there is conflict possibilities with her because what I hate is when these shows turn into everybody's upstanding and everybody agrees with each other and there's no. Like the greatest old Star Trek episodes were Kirk and Spock and McCoy and Spock and McCoy are like, Spock, you green-blooded hobgoblin, and there was a scene maybe in the first episode where it was, I think, Ortegas and Lon and Pike in his quarters trying to figure out whatever the hell the issue was. I can't remember. And there was great tension because they were kind of forcefully giving each other's viewpoints in a way that like created some tension that just like Kirk, Pike had to figure out, okay, what about this am I going to take from this and make a command decision. That's when I love Star Trek. So I like that she does that, you know. And I really, and as far as M'Benga goes, I thought that was a really cool original idea there to keep the cancer kid in the pattern buffer of a transporter. That's a cool idea. It was depressing that they haven't cured cancer in the 23rd century yet.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Really, man? Stand up to cancer didn't work after all.
I know.
But
Well,
I wasn't expecting them to get that. I didn't expect that this is how they were going to resolve it, though. You know, with the alien that came and took her away as a
that actually caused a lot more story problems for me
Yeah.
in Star Trek world than it solved. I was just so happy that I don't have to think about that anymore. That I kind of,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until the next day where I was like, well, what does the Travelers think of this? What does Q think of this? There's so many like unknowable energy forces. You think somebody would have went, oh, hey, there's another one in that nebula, and have gone to why does Starfleet have to deal with all these crazy people? I don't know. I don't know.
When do the omnipotent space entities like go to war with each other too? Like that's
I know.
I just love that. I was so happy to get like a solid B Star Trek episode that I think it's like it deserves the Nobel Prize in terms of like how I felt about the last 4 years. Like I was telling my kid, like I'm just happy that I could point at Star Trek again and go, hey, I like this. This is why. I mean, he's 15. He just watches the original series.
Really?
Yeah.
My kid is 13 and she hates Star Trek, which is really refreshing because she loves Star Wars. We love talking about that. But every time I have Star Trek on, she just makes fun of it. And she watched the end of this with me, and she has perfect, the perfect perspective on it. She goes, "Oh, the good alien came and made everything better." And just walked out of the room.
It's like she was in the writer's room. We need a good alien coming to make everything better episode.
Yeah. I don't want to crap on this, Larry, but like, did anybody here or anybody watching out there in internet land not within two seconds realize what was going on? Like essentially what was going on there. And even the title of the episode gives away a ton just in its allusions. And then as soon as he's reading the book in the beginning, talking about how the king has to sacrifice what he loves for his thing. And it was just so on the nose that I felt it was a little by the numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. At least it's Star Trek though. This is where I'm at. We can nitpick all day long, but it's not like, oh my God, I'm so depressed. That sucked.
I don't think there's been an episode yet that I would say sucked. Cowardly Pike was a hoot. Yeah, he got a little bit on my nerves with his like
over the top
fayness or whatever you want to say it was. I mean, I guess it was like, it was comic relief. I can go into a whole Pike rant right now, but I do want to
go ahead, do it.
I will, but
rant on, brother.
I do want to say one thing about this whole Star Trek tradition of let's do the episodes that save us money because we have a lot of these costumes hanging around, which was the real reason that they would do a Nazi episode because they had all the Nazi costumes and they can walk around the Paramount backlot. It seems like every one of those, Mirror Mirror, Piece of the Action, Spectre of the Gun, all of those dress up episodes, or even the holodeck malfunction ones, Next Generation, they all had something that this episode didn't have, which was all of those characters were put into jeopardy with very real danger from other characters on this planet. The gangs on Piece of the Action had Tommy guns and they would blow their heads off. Spectre of the Gun, those revolvers work.
Even short-lived
conflict in this episode, really.
Yeah, even short-lived, it seems all nonsense. Like the knight can stick you through, and the World War II plane can shoot you as you run into a tree, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't. Did number one not take out a couple crew members with a bow and arrow? Like, are those guys dead? Are they dead? We didn't like, and is that real? Or does the alien, when the alien goes away, everything resets, right? And like,
it was hard.
Yeah.
There was a missing 5 hours there, but did those 5 hours actually happen, or was it this dream state that everybody was in? You know?
I think the way they dress the sets kind of makes it makes you not think about it, because like they pull aside a
dream state.
Pull aside a curtain and Blind Hammer would look at the screen, and you just kind of dig it, you know, like, all right, that's what happens. But if you start to think about it for even a minute, it just all falls apart. So that's cool. That's Star Trek for you, though. Like, what of Lazarus?
You know, like, I think I would probably be much more down with this episode if it was maybe episode 21 of a 26 episode season.
Yeah.
Somebody
said that in the comments.
You know?
Jeff Ewan said that in the comments.
He did?
To save it for next season.
Yeah.
Because we don't know the characters yet.
Yeah, like if I was producing this show and I'm available, if anybody's watching.
Yes.
I would really make this make the first 10 episodes or whatever we're getting. I don't know when this season ends, but really make them hardcore, like Star Trek Enterprise coming into contact with, you know, like let's really establish these characters and the conflicts. And I like that they're giving each one of these characters kind of, you know, meaty episodes and things. But it just felt a little bit early for me to go into the like comic relief fantasy dress up episode, you know. But
that's nobody's going to argue that note. I think you're right. But man, I have this crazy, like, I've been tortured for 4 years. Like, here's some Star Trek, but it's not really.
Yeah.
You know, it's if you like this story, guess what? You have to listen to it all season. You know, but they don't understand that, like, you're giving the audience a reason not to watch your show.
Yeah.
You know, like you said, you know, if that show wasn't called Star Trek, the Discovery, I wouldn't have watched it past the first one. Like, the literal first shot is making you watch 3 minutes of subtitles that orcs are talking for some reason. Like, there's like, it doesn't seem like there's nothing Klingon about it. There's nothing like, oh, but now I have to, not that I hate subtitles, but you have to read instead of look at this cool new makeup and the sets and stuff. It's like your head's doing it. I'm like, come on.
And that's a typical example of those guys not understanding what Star Trek is and how it operates as an allegory for our experience in the 20th century or the 21st century. Obviously, the Klingons in the 1960s were an allegory for the Russians or what was going on in Vietnam or whatever. So you could stand there and talk to a Klingon and have a confrontation with a Klingon, you know, in English and get all the subtleties of that. They weren't this like completely impenetrable alien cult that is even hard to watch for more than 30 seconds, you know. And like better production value and better makeup and better linguistics and weirdness in how you shoot it doesn't necessarily make it better Star Trek.
Well, I just think all that stuff muddied the storytelling, right? Like, your point is exact. You sit there and talk to the Klingon and have a philosophical discussion, and then pull your phasers or Spock pinch somebody, you know, and then it's like, well, we learned that lesson. And then next episode is something else.
Something else. Where
that's what drove me nuts about the whole the Kurtzman era of Star Trek. It's like, you're just giving me an excuse to not give a shit.
Yeah.
But anyway, because hate is love, just the other side. Oh my God, my love of Star Trek turned into like just.
But that's what I think, you know, to flip it to the positive. That's what I think Strange New Worlds is getting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you know, when an episode like this happens, you start to get a little nervous. Like, oh shit, are they losing the plot already? But I don't think so, because I feel like for the most part, every single episode has felt like Star Trek. And I just love what they're doing. The uniforms look right. You know, I love the sets and the ship. You know, I know John Price likes to shit on the ship. I think it's great.
Awesome.
I think those sets are freaking amazing. They're the first sets since maybe even JJ, or maybe even the first Star Trek: The Motion Picture, that I want to just go walk around on and like.
Yeah,
Totally.
I agree 100%. And you know what it is?
Climb up a Jeffries tube.
Yeah,
we got another nice Jeffries tube shot. This one.
I know, and it's like the Jeffries tube that they would have built if they had the money back in 1968.
Exactly.
You know,
you got the feeling, yeah,
like,
that goes all the way up to nacelles, right?
Yeah,
like it looked less high tech than say in Next Generation. The tubes, like they got the design notes so right, future, retro, future.
Yeah,
I just wanted to say though, the thing about the thing I really liked about this is that they did it. This Mbenga was the only example really of a character arc that went over multiple episodes.
Yeah.
So they kept that, right? So they kept the idea that you could have threads that go throughout the season, and they resolved it within the season. I think that's the other thing that they maybe we'll see in the next 2 episodes is more with little Connie Noonion Sing.
Yeah.
Because and the Gorn action, I just feel like they took all the fan service and crammed like everybody's like 2 favorite episodes into one character.
Yeah.
How much greater would it have been, I think, if they kept her as Khan's descendant, but not have revealed it at all, just called her Lieutenant Singh or whatever. Yeah. And then it's a big reveal and a big punch like later on, but to just set it up from the episode 1, it's dramatic irony because everybody in the audience, that's such a glaring thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think also that it sets up these expectations that there's something evil about her that's going to be revealed, or like some huge moment is going to happen where the crew is going to rebel against her because of her past, or she's going to be expelled from Starfleet. Like all of this stuff gets set up when you go, oh, she's a descendant of Khan. That then doesn't happen because she's really just behaving like a crew member. That would have been a cool reveal for a particular episode.
I might have enjoyed that twist if they had like not front loaded it that way.
Yeah.
I like what Dan was talking about with the narrative that they have these like mythologies sort of, sea stories that go through, but everybody and people talk about it and go, I'm glad they're doing that. It's not the Game of Thrones thing where you just like have to buy one thing about the Red Angels or something, and it's nonsense. And you're like, okay, I'm going to go watch football now. But everybody forgets the Spock to Pring thing. That's like, that's hardcore through the whole thing. That everybody doesn't want to really think about shirtless Spock and Vulcan sex outside of Ponfar. That's just not. It's just people have this block against that. I think it's funny.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sort of enjoying I think the Spock Amok episode was terrific.
Yeah.
And
I like that. That was another goofy one that I thought worked a lot better than it for me than this. I like that one, I think, more than Larry, and you like Larry like this one more than me.
I was really into the whole, Freaky Friday thing of it because and I was worried about it when I heard it was coming. But it was 100% based on like I didn't buy Ethan Peck as Spock yet.
Right.
He had made some adjustment this year where he sounds a little more like Nimoy and he's slowing down a little. Yeah. And so by the time that came up, the actress playing T'Pring had like character things that she could play off of, and it was really cool because I was like, she's not doing Nimoy Spock, she's doing Peck Spock. So
it was good.
That's kind of cool. So that's what made me like that one.
Yeah, I love that Peck has sort of found that zone where he can be believable as Spock, but he doesn't have to do a Leonard Nimoy impression.
Right.
He's not trying to match his syntax. They don't give him too many eyebrow raises or fascinatings. And they're honoring that where no man has gone before era of Spock, where he's still like trying to figure out what the hell being half human means, and letting his emotions. I still thought there would be a little bit more of those moments where, like, you remember in When No Man Has Gone Before, when Nimoy like looks at that plant on the planet and smiles, or like gets pissed off on the bridge and starts yelling, like where he hasn't quite figured out how to tamp the humanity down.
My favorite is when they beam out and the Telosians just take the girls, and Spock fucking just loses his goddamn.
Oh, right. He's like, the women. Yeah.
I was like, not even humans are doing that, Spock. Like you don't really get how that surprise thing works, do you?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a cool thing about the whistling plants, because they used the kind of the same special effect for their transporter effect, which is the sound that they're using now, and they changed it from like, I had this whole conversation with Walker because he's like, why is transporter gold? I'm like, it's the old series, right? They're silver in the later ones and it's gold now. He's like, yeah, but it sounds different. I'm like, we got to watch the Cage again, man, because they're using the same sound. And he's like, oh, okay. So that kind of stuff pays off for people like us, and I appreciate that. I gotta hear somebody go, gravity is down to 0.8, like on the bridge, though. I got
5 times in one episode.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, do an episode about that guy. Jesus, I keep telling them gravity's down to 0.8. Nobody's acknowledging it.
Can you guys hear me? I said gravity's down to 0.8.
My name is Finney.
But I do love all these little tiny details, even in the opening title sequence, where they're acknowledging, yes, we know where we are in the Star Trek timeline. We know what this ship is supposed to have on it that it doesn't have later. You know, when they have the little nacelle tips kind of eject out of that. Yeah.
That was fantastic, huh?
Yeah, and when they have, they make sure they pan across the end of the engine nacelle to show you, look, they don't have the little bulbs on them yet. We get it. It's like this is the Pike era of the Enterprise. Those little moments make you give you a little bit of hope, like, okay, maybe these guys get it. All of the little things that the characters get to do that just feel like Star Trek, like look into a damn tricorder or take out the medical scanner and go,
the nacelle pokey thing.
Yeah, you can't. That's probably the best part of the show is the nacelle pokey thingies.
I have to say, at the last, speaking about the credits in the beginning, the Discovery ones are just nonsense. It's all just like people like doing something for their reels. It doesn't fit the shows. And so this one, I kind of didn't like the JJ or the Kurtzman Enterprise, because the nacelles were too big, and I'm like, whatever. That seems like a nitpicky thing. And then this show started, and there's like this crazy graphic, and you think that, what is that, hanging chads or something? And you realize it's the lights coming on, and you're like that close to the primary hull. I just went, okay, I'm fine. And then when a little nacelle pokey thing comes out and you see the bulbs aren't on there, I'm like, there's going to be an episode about, refitting the Enterprise's back, exhaust things. So there's no vents anymore, and there's the big gold thing. And some episode's going to happen while that's in the background. And I'm just going to be so happy. So
even though the effects on this show, even though they feel a little bit digital, I really like them because they remind me, I think we talked about this. I was obsessed with the covers of those Star Trek 1, Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, I think by this artist, Mitchell Hooks, who did the James Blish paperback novel paintings, and the Star Trek logs ones too, where it showed you the Enterprise in this vast universe or galaxy that you never got to see on the television show because they just couldn't do it. So you see this tiny little Enterprise in this like nebula or in an asteroid field or something, and it just expanded your brain's idea of what this Enterprise was actually doing and going and confronting. And it just felt like, wow, Star Trek could be so much more than those episodes, which is why I love Star Trek the Motion Picture so much, because it was the first time you really got to see how tiny the Enterprise is in relation to this massive galaxy or massive V'ger. That's what I love about the Strange New Worlds open, and kind of what they're doing and how they portray the Enterprise in the galaxy. Is it feels like that, like those paintings, and it kind of creates this vibe that like I've always wanted to exist in Star Trek, you know?
When you were talking about the sets, I had that feeling that that they're showing you something that they would have done if they could have for budget or resources at the time. And I it took me a second to warm up to the interior sets of the hallways and stuff because the floors were so shiny. And it just seemed like, oh, hey, it's Logan's Run 1970s mall or something, right? Yeah. But when they showed the engineering and it made it look like a space that is controlling the giant matter antimatter that you have to have fictional spaceship fly around, it all sort of like made physical sense to me. And then I was like, well, of course it's going to be shiny and reflective and, you know, blue smoke and neon and everything because the visual storytelling tells you it's the future, but it also gives scope to the frame, right?
Yeah.
So, oh man, it's just,
and there's just a consistency to it, the whole design of it, where you can feel like I really feel like Spock's quarters is at the edge of the primary hull. And you know, those kind of things. And they've built the angle so it really feels, which the original sets did that to a degree that they could do it in the 60s too. But it really sells the whole, like you really feel like, okay, I'm walking around the primary hull in those hallways. And then they've got little bits of cues to the old series built into the walls or into the Jeffries tube or the little communicators on the table next to. It's beautiful. Yeah.
I actually saw that in this episode. You probably would know. Did they have those before? Yeah, because it was in the medical bay, right?
Yeah, in the medical bay, I saw like, they had the exact same little like a speaker that it would call to the bridge on.
That slapped my brain because I was like, not only did I recognize it, of course, but I'm like, it's a white. That should be sky blue.
And it had those little toggle switches. Medical.
It like took me on the show. I was like,
no, exactly little toggle switches that were on the table or they're built into the side of Kirk's. It was great. It's great little design cues there that are making it feel Star Trek for the old school people, and at the same time making it feel like a completely modern, big budget show for people who just are watching a modern television show. You know, I think they got the balance right.
It's so homey in like Pike's quarters. He's got a freaking open fireplace.
Yeah, I know.
He's in the wood grain kitchen and he's chopping veggies and whatever. I feel like there has to be an episode where they get busted for just having an orgy or something, and that's why the quarters got downgraded. By the time Kirk came along, they ripped out all the cushioning and all the stuff because Pike's running a little pleasure.
That is like a penthouse. That is a Manhattan penthouse apartment in space. Like that's I think the one design thing is maybe it's because they're shooting in Toronto and the dollar goes a lot farther and they have bigger sound stages and it's like, let's just go for broke and make this place like huge. But the personal quarters of Spock and Pike are feeling a little bit like, you know, Trump Tower.
Maybe that's noblesse oblige or whatever. That's like everybody else, like what's her face? Uhura's 3 to a cabin in their little cubby holes, and like the captain's got captain's quarters. That's appropriate.
I love that when they showed Uhura's quarters because that had super echo from Lower Decks. You watch that cartoon, Rick?
Yeah. A friend of mine is Chris Pranosky and Titmouse do Lower Decks.
That's right. Yeah.
And I had pitched him my dumb idea to like redo all the animation on Star Trek the Animated Series. I'm like, can we take that to the Paramount Plus guys? And he was like, we can. They're never going to buy it. I'm like, okay. But that's my
that would have been awesome, yeah.
To do like a CG cool version of it, using all the old voices.
Oh,
but
that'd be
never going to go anywhere.
I didn't understand this thing that Andrew Feder is talking about. So there was like, wasn't the character that Ortega's is supposed to be like in the book? That's a male character.
Yeah.
Right. I think so. Right. And the Huntress was the female, but then he okay. And so like this was just supposed to be some sort of like extrapolation of the romance between those characters in the book. I don't think it implies anything about
No, of course it does. You get it both ways, right?
Okay,
If lady love gives you, problem, well, that's just a fantasy thing that the, unknowable alien force didn't understand. But if you're dying for it, yeah, right on. They're going off script because they love each other so much. So I love that because those characters are great. I love both of those characters.
Are we talking about the scene with Ortegas and number one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Where she goes, "Oh yeah, we know each other.
We know each other very well. Yeah.
Very well." Wink.
Yeah.
Nudge,
so
nudge. Yeah.
I get
I'm all for it.
I don't. It doesn't. It adds. I'm of the mind that if you're an audience member that's looking for something like that, it adds to the scene. And if you are a Trump voter, then you don't have to pay attention because they're not really knocking you over the head.
Okay, I'm just going to be a nitpicker in between because I'm going to say, okay, if Pike is not really a simpering coward, right? If that was strictly like the character from the books coming through, and also the relationship between the hunter and the huntress and the knight was not in the book. It was actually from it's more like how the girl imagined it. And I also thought her name was Lucia throughout. It's Rukia, not Lucia, but I kept thinking it was Lucia.
Leukemia.
Yeah, how crazy that you named the leukemia kid leukemia. You might as well name it leukemia. But anyway, so I don't know. I'm just not sure. Does it imply? Are we saying number one is implied to be a lesbian? Who cares? But like,
I don't know. I saw Femme Fatale, so I'm pretty sure. And the X-Men movie, so I'm pretty sure Rebecca Romijn is up for the role if that's what.
Was there something about the number one character that, as played by Majel Barrett, there was something about that character that was supposed to be asexual or suggested to be like she's strictly business, like she doesn't have.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
there was something about that I think was being suggested there. That Rebecca Romijn's having fun with.
I love that she's the one that does the costume changes. Like she is, because I'm kind of into the costume thing.
Yeah,
and so I note every time she's like, oh, she's got the duty uniform. Okay, she's got the girl skirt. Okay, there's the dress uniform. Okay, there's the away team stuff. She's the one that like changes all the time, and I wish every time I see her, will you get the right shirt for Mr. Kyle, please? Because he's wearing the black one that goes like that, so he's a thin guy anyway. And then
I completely agree. It makes him look, it makes him look emaciated.
Yeah, it really does.
I really love the casting on this show, but that's one that's puzzled me. It's like, why does Kyle have to be this like? I mean, I have no problem like recasting with a different ethnicity, but why so completely obviously like the skinniest guy you could find in Hollywood?
That's the part that bugs me it's not even when he's on the screen by himself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you're giving us some information, you're doing some tasks, but it's when he's standing next to Anson Mount, who's like this 160 pounds of U.S. grade A beef.
Yeah.
And then Rebecca Romijn, who's like, Wonder Woman stand-in. And then you get this guy that is the size of the poop I took this morning.
Yeah.
It's like, and wearing the same shirt, by the way. I flushed it because I don't like that uniform. But it's just so atonal and weird because
you have this.
I know they're going against the TV expectation of everybody's on Love Island or whatever. But you have to have people look like they're in Starfleet. He just looks like he didn't pass the physical. You know what I mean?
Right. He looks like he had graduated from middle school or something. Right. They have to admit that there's a very visceral reaction to Kyle, which is I can't imagine most people don't see him the first time and go like, how old is he? What's going on? Who is this little kid beaming people around? It's like it's bad casting. Like
I did like though that they know it. Because they had that dialogue of the two even younger looking girl ensigns who were like, he's the meanest guy in the ship.
I love it.
I thought that was cool because the audience is like, man, I wouldn't even wipe this guy off my shoe. But on the ship somewhere, there's two people that are afraid of that guy. So
dude, because
give it to him.
Guys, because guys like you are like, who's this little twink running the transporter? You know, like big strapping Starfleet dudes are like, who'd you blow? Mr.
There's
Kyle.
probably an answer. Admiral April. That's who.
I'm telling you, he needs a good agonizer session, and everything will be right.
Agonizer.
I feel like they're setting him up for that. Like they're setting us up to hate him for a reason, so that either something bad happens and we don't like it, or like they get a chance to something bad happens to him and we get to laugh at him. Like
that reminds me, I like fear a mirror episode for this show.
Oh no!
Oh, we lost Rick.
Dude, and you just offended Rick, who loves mirror.
He's like, God damn it, Mr. Kyle, I love him.
We talked off screen about how much he loved that.
Do you see friend of the show, John Suntrace, shows up and goes, do you guys know where Hemmer says my costume appeared? I'm like, that is pretty bad writing for a blind guy. But
what's he gonna say? What's he gonna say? I
was gonna say I get the utility of the storytelling, because maybe he feels like the fabric change around him or something, you know. It appeared. There's Rick.
I'm back.
Hey,
we're just. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm good.
We're good. We were just talking about in the comments. John Sanchez. He's you would love that guy, man. He's a old Chicago radio guy. He's in the Chicago Radio Hall of Fame. He just got recently, which is pretty cool. Super Sports. He probably likes the Yankees. I know.
Oh, we got to bring him. We got to bring him in here, Larry. He'd be a natural guest too.
Yeah. No, of course. Anyway, we were just talking about about the crappy writing that Hemmer says his storybook costume appeared, and he's a blind guy. But which is
materialized.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. It was more the like him looking past the curtains at the readout screen that gave me a problem. I'm like, does he feel the heat where he's able to see what the, like in a Daredevil way, what the image is?
Maybe
because
he sort of sees with these things, you know,
dude. And I realized, that's why Hemmer's not in every episode. I'm telling you, it's the makeup budget. And then they blew it all. Do you think those things were practical or CG? I couldn't tell.
Yeah,
I think they're practical.
They're totally practical. They had done that.
Memory wire or something like that.
They got erect.
They have little servos. That's why his head is so big. They had to put
they got that memory wire stuff where you can electrify it and it'll regain its shape. That's how I would try something like
probably
that.
Something like that. I like that character, you know, because Hollywood is so, you know, if there's usually a blind person on a television show made by Hollywood, they tend to want to make them the most innocent, pure, life-affirming character who sees with his true eyes of the ones in his soul. And, you know, and it's just, you know, there to show you the purity of life without eyes. And this guy, they just turned this guy into a narcissistic asshole. He's like the Charles Emerson Winchester of.
Totally. Yeah, there you go.
I love.
That's
the thing I love about that character is like why are you there then? You know, I get being a sarcastic asshole, you know, but like, but it's Starfleet, right? Is there really all that much room for sarcastic dickheads, especially department heads that are running your engines? It seems like that's the guy you want to even.
And I still don't. I still hate the trope, though, the blind trope of, oh, it's better. It's better to be blind. Like, I can't. I can't read a poster or tell you what color your shirt is, but I'm superior to you in every single. No, it would be better to me if they really highlighted what he can't do as well as what he can do, and but they make him that character for everything he's done. You wouldn't even know he was necessarily blind in this last episode, except that he didn't see the costumes and stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't know the actor was blind, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, I read about him. He's blind. He's legally blind. He's totally blind in one eye. I see.
Okay.
Yeah, one eye. So he can get around. You know, it's not like he needs the cane to like get around engineering. You know, he can see enough to like do his thing on the show, but he's legally blind, I guess.
I did like they had a little scene showing that he is. I like his whole like I'm superior to everybody else, because you get the idea that it has nothing to do with his blindness. It's just he's a dick. So because somebody throws something at him and he goes like he's Thor and catches it. So I'm like that kind of see out of one eye thing makes a little more sense to me now.
I think what you're like you're saying coming at him. I think there's going to be an episode where kind of like when we first saw Spock in Naked Time break down and like you realize, oh, he's not a superior guy who's totally comfortable being the logical guy. He's struggling inside. There'll be a Hammer episode where it's like, oh, actually, I hate being blind and it's a huge struggle for me and I just overcompensate all day, you know?
Yeah. Although, how great would it be if the one guy who had an actual, real tragic thing in his backstory was just like, doesn't bother me.
Yeah, shit happens.
Like, everybody else
we're the space hookers.
Shuttle accident, you know.
Hey, do I have time for my Pike rant?
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
Okay,
rant on, bro.
This is what I want your opinion on, because I've got no problem with Pike having this vision of the future where he's going to get trapped in engineering or whatever, and sees his future, whatever. I really like Anson Mount's physical presence and his look. I love his hair. He seems perfect for Pike. So far, though, I feel like it's either how he's playing it or how they're writing it, or a combination of both, where he doesn't feel as a forceful enough like command presence for me. I'm trying not to compare him to Jeffrey Hunter, who just seemed like balls to the wall, like, you know. But I feel like there's a little bit too much of Pike getting consensus with everyone or getting everybody's opinion, like he knows nothing about what's going on, walking onto the bridge going, what am I looking at? And then going, what do you think it is, Ortegas? Spock, what do you think? Uhura, what do you think? I don't know. Those are three options. I'll pick B. You know, like it doesn't seem like he's going, well, I'm going to take the best of those and make a real inspired choice as a commander of the Enterprise. I just feel like he's constantly relying on everybody to go, give me an answer here, because I don't have any clue, you know?
Yeah,
but also, Rick, I just want to ask, how do you think that dovetails with him knowing his future? Because I feel like those two things are like, he's either just like going by the numbers and just, well, whatever, it's all going to work out. Yeah. Or he knows it already and he's, you know, doing it. It's hard to say, but it doesn't feel, those two things are in conflict. His attitude.
Yeah. If he truly believes that his fate is sealed and that he's going to melt down, like, what is it? However many years from now.
10 years.
10 years from now. So nothing he does matters now because we're all going to survive everything. Then that's a horrible plot point.
That's why I want that to go away. But you're talking, I have that same issue, but it's more conflicted because I respond to, there's scenes that he does play very forceful. He looks like a Starfleet captain. Totally. He's doing Starfleet stuff and he's saying Starfleet stuff, but then your point, he undercuts it with some kind of like consensus building that you said, or some kind of informality. Because I cannot fucking take, I love Ortegas. I love her because she's, you know, they watched Orville and went, oh, everybody likes the red-haired guy. Let's put that on Star Trek because they're stealing from us. We'll steal from them. I get that. But like Pike will say something, let's fire photon torpedoes and blast those fuckers to hell. If you wouldn't mind, Erica. You know, it's like when he calls everybody by their first name, I'm like, come on, man. That should be Mr. Ortegas. Like Mr. Savick, Mr. Ortegas, I get number one, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's the part that bugs me. It's like, man,
it's weird. Like
you spent so much time
modern day manager. He's the modern day buddy manager. He is not a Starfleet top-down authority, because that's not in style. Hierarchies are out of style, old man. Where you been, Larry? You don't govern from the top. You lead by consensus in a crew, and you let your crew bicker all day long and take up all the useful time at staff meetings, so nothing gets done.
Yeah, the character's reminding me a little bit of Office Space, where he's like,
Yeah, we're gonna need you to
we
come
need
in.
you to go ahead and come in on Sunday because we're going to be in the Nebula.
Oh, I want to see that on Lower Decks. Tell your buddy at Titmouse. Make sure that they get Pike to come on and just play Lumberger or whatever his name is from Office Space.
That's why I love asshole Mr. Kyle, because in the future where there is no real struggle and scarcity is essentially gone, and all you have is your rank in Starfleet, you're going to be riddled with type A assholes, dicks everywhere who are like really hyper nitpicky, like Hemmer and like Mr. Kyle. So I love that, especially engineers.
Yeah,
I love the three of us are talking about friggin' Anson Mount's hair. Like I haven't really had to worry about hair for about 30 years. So at first I was like, am I just responding to this because it's obvious like they're spending a lot of time on that guy? But then I was like, no, because that's fucking Starfleet hair right there. It's salt and pepper, a little product, fucking
just think of the product they've got in the 23rd century, the anti-gravity.
That's it. Little secret, his hair only works in 0.8 gravity. That's the secret.
My hair is down to 0.8.
Mario had an awesome point about the Pike and his thing about, he doesn't care because he knows he's going to live. It's that he knows only that he is going to live. So that probably does wig him out a little. That he's responsible for everything and untouchable at the same time.
Is that clear, though? Is that clear? Is that what we established?
I needed Mario to point that out to me, so I'm not sure how clear it is.
Yeah, because I couldn't, when I watched it,
I agree, though.
He seemed to intimate, though, that, like, I didn't just see it. I lived it.
Right, he felt it. He was there. It happened to him.
I experienced it, which to me would mean you have memories. You kind of know you just lost Una Chin, just took one on the Una Chin or whatever and got 86th. He's going to know those things, you would think. And that's, to me, what takes the stakes out. And I hope that maybe they end that they sooner than later. And
I think they will.
The future is the future.
I think that's something, one of these little tendrils that's playing itself out over the course of the season that's going to get resolved. And number one is going to have a big part of resolving that. She's trying to get his ass past that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's questioning him like, what does that mean? Do you really think it's written in stone? Like, is the future always in motion, as Yoda said? I think there's going to be a moment when he accepts that, like, decisions I make are going to maybe make everything moot. Yeah. I think that'll end by this. Has to end.
And they already did. They've proved, I don't know. It all depends on how causality works in the Star Trek universe, I guess, because like they've established there's time travel, there's a time distortion, whatever. So they should just be in their own fork of the timeline. And anything could happen. I agree. I've been talking about that all season. Like, it kills me almost every scene with Pike. I go, wouldn't he know that already? Like, when he asked Spock to make the guess between which of the two things to blow up, was in the previous episode, I guess. Yeah. He asked Spock to go with his gut.
Yeah. Which
asshole.
Yeah.
That's a decision the captain should be. If it's down to a coin flip, that's the kind of decision a captain should make. Not foist on Spock.
I actually agree with you, but I saw it more like he's trying to teach Spock something, because Spock isn't his executive officer yet. He's I don't know what that was.
Sorry.
It just he's just a science officer. I think he was trying to teach this new guy, like, it's okay to go with your gut. And I think I'm with you and Rick. I hope that pays off later, that he's trying to test, like, just how set in stone this whole thing is.
Yeah.
I want him to, I don't even want this to be the last shot of the show. I want them to do it at the end of season 2 or 3 and just have him, like, save all the cadets and not catch the Delta rays in the face and now go, holy shit, everything I've just done for the last 3 years has been, like a happy accident, because I've been going towards this thing and now that's been taken away and now I can just have a Star Trek show and everything has stakes again. Like don't save that to the end, guys. Like
yeah.
you know.
Totally.
I wish Price was here to tell me though the timeline specifics, because if they're on a 5-year mission right now, right? So I mean that's in the
that's the thing. He's not in command of the Enterprise when that happens. He's instructing the cadets on some training ship. So he might even be an admiral at that point, or
okay.
assigned to another ship or something. I don't know. But that's right out of the cage. They say that.
Okay.
And then they showed it on Discovery. So that's where all those clips come from.
Which is why I never saw it, because I didn't even get one episode into Discovery. I'm sorry.
That show.
I wanted to go back and just watch the ones where the Enterprise showed up, and I guess in season 2, but I did watch the end of season 1 just to see the Enterprise show up.
Yeah. There's one episode, I'll text it to you later, but there's one episode with Pike where they actually do something in Discovery for a change. So and they take one of the bridge crew with them, and they have like an away team mission, and they go down to a planet where it's all a story about religion, and Pike reveals that he's pretty heavily Roman Catholic, and they haven't really brought that up in Strange New Worlds yet, but it made for a compelling show in Discovery, and it speaks to like some of his decision making. I'll send you a link. That's a good episode, but the rest of them where they show up, it's just like, Spock's got a beard and he looks like Cyborg, and like, what are they doing? And you know, I get that like they're trying to say that, you know, this is hippie Spock and he's coming towards the light, but like he's a Starfleet officer and nobody goes, dude, you got to get a haircut. You know? It's like,
to their credit, you didn't have to watch any of that stuff. Luckily,
right. You don't have to.
There was only the barest nub of Discovery, and all the time travel stuff and all the connections to Discovery really are pretty moot. Like you could ignore that totally, and the series makes basic sense.
Oh yeah, you could jump right in, having never watched an episode of any Star Trek, and understand what's going on in Strange New Worlds for sure.
Yeah, John sets it straight. Pike was a fleet captain. That makes sense.
What does that mean? I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
So there's a captain of a ship, and then a fleet captain is in charge of like 5 or 6 ships, 5 or 6 ships that have their own captains, but they're like more a force to do. They're not doing diplomatic stuff and security. They're more like, you know, and welcoming people into the Federation and being more ceremonial, because it's like one guy running 5 ships. It's like, what are you really doing at that point? I don't know. That was my understanding back in the old TOS days when you'd have a Commodore or fleet captain show up.
Dude, Andrew Feder is adamant that Spock doesn't have a sister.
Feder, man, that guy cracks me up. He's awesome. Spock doesn't have a sister. He must like Cybok in this latest episode. They're like, hey, Cybok, what's happening? I'm like, that's cool. They're gonna redeem all of Star Trek 5.
Oh, that's
irredeemable. So Star Trek 5.
I think Cybok is the best thing from that movie. I'm not going to say that's
that first scene of that movie with where they reveal Cybok, he takes his hood off and he starts laughing. And that dude, the dude that he just confronted on the desert planet or whatever, that was great, and it made me go, "Ooh, this is going to be a good movie."
Yeah.
And then all downhill. Like
nobody's saying it's a good movie. I just don't think it's an embarrassment. I love that movie has the most Star Trek scene ever, where the 3 of them are sitting around the campfire and going, and Spock goes, row, row, row your boat, Captain. And McCoy goes, gently down the stream, you green-eyed freak. And Kirk is like, yeah, man, let's do it merrily. Let's just get all together and do some Star Trek. I love that. And everybody just sees 3 old idiots singing around a fire. And I'm like, dude, you have no idea. That's the whole show right there.
Oh, man. Yeah. This is a whole other episode. Talking about Star Trek 5.
I was thinking, I know you're a busy cat, but you have to come back.
I'll come back.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
all right.
This is awesome. This has been fun.
This is a thrill for us, man. No kidding.
I'll tell you all my William Shatner roast stories next time.
We'll do a Rick Austin episode about the William Shatner roast.
Oh, we got to do that. We didn't even touch on it. That sound means that we've started talking about Star Trek V again. So,
red alert. Somebody brought up Cyborg.
Intruder.
There's one thing that I really loved about the last episode of Star Trek, which is that I finally get to shoehorn in a Godfather reference based on the Mabenga leukemia sea story, and I'm going to save that for the closing credits for our final scene. You're going to get to see it, and I think that you will get the connection because I couldn't figure out how to make it funny, but I did my best. Rick Austin, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, you guys. This was a blast.
I hope you'll come back again and again and again.
Sure.
Come back to the show.
I love you got a nickname right away. Fucking Hector's calling you NoHo Rick already. And Fetter's crying. Please have Rick back. We like him. All right. You're on the crew, man. You're on the crew already.
And Captain Fun, Dr. Doom and Gloom is going to be back next week. And we'll see you. We're going to see you. Wait a minute. But Rick, we do this show every week. We do.
I know. I'm watching sometimes.
Okay. Well, we do it on Fridays.
Yeah.
We do it at noon. But then we do it somewhere. Do you know where we do it, Rick? Do you know where we do it? No. Larry, do you know where we do it, buddy?
On the internet.
There's someone in between you and your possible superiors who gave the actual order.
Right, yeah, buffer. The family had a lot of buffers.
Mr. Chichi, you may find this very amusing, but I promise you the members of this committee do not.